I'm going to try to get through this real quick. Mr. Freeman brought up the conflict of interest in his mind between the defense attorney, the prosecutor, and the judge. There is no conflict of interest. You pay a lot of money to be a member of the bar. You're subject to a lot of rules. Being a member of the bar, you have to do ongoing legal education. You have to meet certain minimum requirements to be a member of the bar. You have to pass a competency test to be a member of the bar. Other than that allowing you to practice law in that particular state, there is no benefit to being a member of the bar. You are subject to disciplinary rules of professional conduct if you are a member of the bar. You are required to zealously assert the client's position under the rules of the adversary system. If you don't zealously represent your client, you may be subject to monetary sanctions. You may be subject to suspensions or disbarments. You may be subject to malpractice lawsuits by your client. There are no good reasons for you to not act in your client's interest. There are none. Zero. The prosecutor doesn't get paid more or less depending on whether he wins or loses. The defense attorney doesn't get paid more or less depending on whether he wins or loses. And if he loses, he may get negative reviews from you. He may be subject to disciplinary sanctions if he really screws the pooch and violates his ethical responsibilities. He may be subject to a malpractice lawsuit if he violates his legal responsibilities to you. The judge has no incentive to rule for or against you other than the dictates of law and fact. The judge doesn't get paid more or less based on whether you win or lose. There is no incentive for them to collude. There's no conflict of interest there. There's none. So it doesn't make sense. 81.076, that's where they establish the Commission for Lawyer Discipline and give them the ability to discipline people. That said, this video is brought to my attention. This is Ethics Instead. He doesn't like to give his legal name, so we'll just call him Common Joe. You don't get to pick your name if you don't use your legal name. Brandon Bowman. Nope, you're Common Joe now, buddy. So Common Joe he styles himself to be a lawyer, but not a member of the bar. He does not have any law school experience, nor has he ever passed a bar exam. So I don't know what makes him think that he's competent to call himself a lawyer. He's certainly not. You could tell it for a lot of reasons. First of all, he claims to have represented people on 3 continents, etc., blah, blah, blah. He's represented himself in Hawaii, etc. Meaningless. It's useless information. We do not know how competent he is or isn't, but we can draw some conclusions. First of all, he doesn't recognize the state of Texas. And yet there he is in a commissioner's court seeking to have the commissioner's court take actions that the commissioner's court is not allowed to take. First of all, the commissioner's court is a function of the Texas Constitution. If there is no Texas, there is no constitutional authority for the commissioner's court. This is Article 5, Section 18 of the Texas Constitution. That is what brings the commissioner's court into existence. This right here. Without this, there is no commissioner's court. The commissioner's court are 4 elected officials from the districts that they're in and 1 county court judge. The county court judge is also in Article 5, Section 15. This is how you get a county court and a county judge. The county commissioners are an administrative panel. They figure out how to spend your taxes. That's what they do. You can go through it. I'll leave a link to it, but basically they get to figure out how to spend your taxes. One of my dogs is vigorously licking herself. I think she's very much enjoying it. If you hear it, I apologize. Their judicial responsibilities come down to how to spend money. They may provide office buildings or jails outside county seat, may own, construct, equip, enlarge, and maintain buildings as criminal justice centers. They shall provide safe, suitable jails. They may require review of jail commissary accounts. They may cooperate among counties through contracts to furnish and operate jails. They may contract for joint financing. They may increase salaries in counties of over 1.25 million. They may employ special counsel. They may improve efforts of justice of peace to collect fines. They may sell rights to judgment proceeds. They may establish and provide for the maintenance of a county law library. They may contract with private detention facilities for county inmates. You can see it is just administrative functions. They don't get to change things that happen in the judicial system. And only someone who is completely ignorant of the law, uninformed or misinformed, would go in front of a county commissioner's court and waste their time trying to petition them to do things that are outside of their powers. They are precluded by law from doing the things he's trying to do. One of the things he's trying to do is he's trying to get the criminal courts to prove jurisdiction. He says you're considered innocent of jurisdiction. They should prove you guilty of jurisdiction. Well, if you were a lawyer, you would understand how this works. First of all, there's territorial jurisdiction. The crime has to be committed in whole or in part in Texas. That's step one. Step two is subject matter jurisdiction. The court has to be authorized by the Constitution to hear the charges. A misdemeanor court can't hear felony charges. A traffic court can't hear non-traffic court cases. A juvenile court can't hear non-juvenile cases. A civil court can't hear a criminal case. The right court has to hear the case. That's subject matter jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction happens when the court gets the indictment against you. So what does the prosecution have to prove as elements of the crime? Well, the prosecution doesn't have to prove subject matter jurisdiction. If the court doesn't have subject matter jurisdiction, it is always preserved. If the court is not entitled to hear the case, then even after the court has already passed judgment, then either side can bring up subject matter jurisdiction, and it's an automatic appellate review. The court itself has to take note of when it has or doesn't have subject matter jurisdiction. If the court becomes aware, like if it's a misdemeanor court in Texas and all of a sudden the prosecution brings an indictment into court and they say they want to tack on these felony charges, then the court is immediately aware that it doesn't have subject matter jurisdiction over the felony charges, and it has to remand the case or transfer the case to the appropriate court. As far as the other two things, personal jurisdiction and territorial jurisdiction, those are elements of the crime. The state has to prove that it was you who committed the crime. That's personal jurisdiction. They have to prove that the person in the indictment is you and that you committed the crime. That's there. You would know that if you were a lawyer. You would know they have to prove that the crime happened in the state of Texas. You would know that. And I believe also for the county, because it looks like they were very specific on the county. So if you look at indictments in Texas, you'll see, like in the Freeman indictment, that it said it said the date that it purportedly happened. It said who purportedly did it. It said where, down to the county level, that it purportedly happened. That has to be proven. So it's silly. And also those elements are in the Constitution of the United States, they're in the Constitution of Texas, and they're in the statutes of Texas. None of which the County Commissioner's Court has the power to change, period. They don't. The other thing that this gentleman, Common Joe, argues for is to mandate that the courts allow defendants to audio-video record their audio or video record. I think he said audio record, but maybe audio and video record. I don't remember, and I don't care enough to watch his stupid video again. Well, the County Commissioner's Court has no power over the courtrooms of any particular judge. A judge is basically the other than for appeal, the judge gets to control what happens in their court. And even if, so the only way that you could mandate that judges allow audio and or video recording in the courtroom would be to insert that into either the Texas Constitution or a Texas statute. Probably the Texas Constitution, because due process is in the Texas Constitution. So it would have to be in the Constitution to at least give it the shot of overcoming any due process concerns. But then you'd still have to worry about the due process clause of the U.S. Constitution, and the judge still could determine that audio video recording defeats due process, so they still may not allow it. Now, that is a question that the judicial court could potentially review. I think there would be great deference given to the original court on their determination of whether it was in the interest of due process to allow or disallow audio video recording. But anyway you slice it, the county commissioner's court can't do a damn thing about it. So bringing it in front of the county commissioner's court is stupid. Because remember, the Texas Constitution mandates what the county commissioner's court is made out of, but they also give power to the judiciary and the legislation. The legislation gets to make statutes. The county commissioner's courts do not. And the judiciary gets to determine their rules for their court rules by the Supreme Court and or by the Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the criminal court variation of the Texas Supreme Court. So there's no reason at all to go in front of a county commissioner's court. So this guy's dumb. He's dumb. He should feel bad. Excuse me. He's uninformed and misinformed, and he should feel bad for being so smug about going in front of this commissioner's court like he did, because he just looked like a fool and he doesn't even know it. That's probably why he hides his like to dislike ratio. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.